Not so long ago, HDZero released the Mobula 6 Freestyle HD, the best of the best, with the best components, the best camera, the best motor, and the best that HDZero has got to offer. And at the time I wasn't overly interested in flying it, because at the time I wasn't gorilla whooping or flying whoops, but a lot's changed since that was released. So I got myself one. Let's take a look at it. So running down some of the spec first of all. The Mobula 6 Freestyle bind and fly is a 65mm low light bind and fly using the HDZero AIO5 designed for freestyle whooping, and it's under 20 grams. See, when I first started flying tiny whoops and doing gorilla whooping, weight wasn't a massive issue because I was just flying for a couple of minutes, avoiding security and then bouncing off to the next location. The more I've flown, the more I've realised that a gram here and a gram there at this weight and this level makes all the difference. So the fact that this comes in at 19.6 grams with a digital VTX is pretty impressive. Now it comes with the A30 or BT 2.0 compatible plug. The prop size is 31mm. It uses an f411. The gyro is a BMI 270. This is probably my second favourite gyro after the fabled MP6000. It's got 5 amp ESCs per motor, which support ELRS and BlueJ. And I believe BlueJ is actually pre-installed as well, so it makes your life so much easier. It's obviously got the built-in HDZero VTX as well. And to round out this spec topping tiny whoop, it's also got ELRS built in as well. Now this is all built in to one board. So on the one flight controller or AIO board, you've got obviously your flight controller, you've got obviously your ESC, you've got your ELRS receiver, and you've got your HDZero VTX all built in to one board, which obviously brings down the weight dramatically. What it does do, and one of the biggest concerns about this for me, is that if an ESC goes or if the gyro goes, the whole board is gone, which means your VTX and everything is gone because it's all built into one. Now, I don't know how reliable this is going to be. It's built by Happy Model, who are generally quite good in these size of craft. So I think overall it probably shouldn't be too much of a worry. But longevity is probably the most asked question on this channel. See, people will watch a video or a review that I do of a drone, and then they'll come back a few months later and they'll be like, that was brilliant. Is it still working? Has it survived lots of crashes? Do you still fly it every day? Have you had any problems with it? Because people want value for money, and I understand that. I am a northerner from the UK, and yeah, value for money is probably the most important thing, in my opinion, that you could get. So there is obviously going to be that concern, that long-term concern. Overall, I haven't seen any real issues with it myself, and I've not really read anything online of people having concerns with regards to longevity. So it is going to be too early to say yet, but I will review again in 6 months and I'll let you know how it goes. And I think that's important as well, because I am flying this thing as much as I possibly can, either in the house or I'm going gorilla whooping with it or I'm doing whatever with it. So it is getting a lot of flights put through it. So it will be good to see just how good it lasts long term. It's got a built-in 5V 1A back. It's 28x28 with a 25x25 mounting. Beautiflight firmware's Crazy Bee. So the camera is the Lux camera, which is regarded generally as the best HDZ camera in this size craft that they have ever made. And I've got to be honest, it's really, really good. Like, I am somebody who demands quality over latency. I'm somebody who demands stabilized footage over raw footage. But you know what? I'm really impressed. Now, it's never going to replace an 03 craft or an 04 craft for a professional job, but it's not meant to. Its resolution is 720p 60, and it will do 4x3 or 16x9, and it has a field of view of 155 degrees. The motors that come with it are 28,000 kV, and they are, I think, 0702, 0802s, I'm not sure, I'll double check. But overall, it's 19.6 grams for something that is digital. Wow, is all I can say. I reviewed the sub 250 Nimble 65 a couple of weeks ago, and that's an analog quad, and that was 21 grams. Now, didn't have particular issues with the weight of it. I was able to throw it around the gym pretty hard and pretty fast. But every gram counts as a massive percentage at this weight. Every extra gram is a performance percent that you lose exponentially at this level of weight. So to be under 20 grams is really impressive. To have a camera that will also do low light and that looks so good in the daytime, super impressive as well. Now, I do have a question for HDZero flyers that may be watching this. Is there a better canopy? Because as you can see from the flight videos, or you will be able to see from the flight videos, the canopy is constantly in view and sort of ruins that aesthetic a little bit. Don't like it in the slightest. And it also slides out of that canopy constantly, which reveals more of it. I could probably tie an elastic band around it. I don't know. If there's a better canopy that you guys know of, if you can send me a link, drop me a link to a 3D print down below, or even just the name of a 3D print down below, and I'll get it printed up. Because I love this, I really do, but it is a bit of a pain. Now, just very quickly, one thing I forgot to mention in this video is if you're going to want to use a HDZero Tiny Whoop, you are going to need a pair of HDZero goggles. Now, to anybody who's been in the hobby for a while, that's going to make absolute perfect common sense. But we are coming up to Christmas, and there is going to be a lot of new people in the hobby, and they're not necessarily going to realise the difference between potentially analog and digital and what you need. So I'm here to give you a really quick pre-Christmas tip. And there is a reason why my Goggles X look like this, and I'm going to discuss that with you now. So, to fly HDZero, you need a HDZero pair of goggles or receiver. Now, the HDZero goggles, I would love a pair, but they're £600, nearly $800 if you compare that like-for-like price across the board. So, they're really expensive. They do analog, but overall, you're only really getting one system in them. The Caddx Avatar Goggles X range from about £300 to £400. They will do analog, they will do Caddx, Walk Snell, Avatar, and with a really cheap adapter like that, you could also have HDZero. Now, I've been running this Sharkbite adapter since it first came out, way back when. It still works perfectly fine today without any problems at all. I would highly recommend, if you're new to the hobby, and this is probably going to upset somebody at HDZero, and I do apologise. I've been pushing for a long time for HDZero goggles to become a little bit more affordable to the masses. I understand why they're not. We touched on it in the documentary. You know, HDZero never intended to be a consumer end product. It always intended to be a third-party manufacturer. Ultimately, you know, we are where we are, and we can only do what we can only do at the end of the day. But as a consumer, I don't believe, and I feel really bad for saying this because I absolutely love, and I've got a whole new respect for HDZero, but I don't believe that their goggles represent value for the average flyer. Now, sure, if you're a racer and that's all you do and you do nothing else other than race and you just fly HDZero, you might as well buy a pair of HDZero goggles, because ultimately it's going to be the best thing for you. If you're anybody else who wants to try, oh, I've seen this quad that's cheap on AliExpress or Banggood or Beta FPV or sub 250, and it has this option with it, you might want a little bit more flexibility and freedom. And for that reason, and for that reason alone, this combo will allow you to fly everything apart from DJI for less than just a pair of HDZero goggles. I love the flexibility of what this setup has to offer. I've waffled for far too long in too bad of a lighting, so let me flick back to either a flight or the studio or somewhere, and we'll discuss some more thoughts. Well, happy December to everybody on Squad in Quads. We are here at a little child's adventure play park. It's early in the morning. All the kids are either in school or in bed. We've got the HDZero Mobula6 Freestyle. I don't know what it's called. The freestyle version of the new version of the old version of the HDZero Mobula Freestyle 1S tiny whoop thing. And we're going to fly it around here. We're going to get some DVR. I'm going to leave this camera on the table. I'm just going to wipe the steam from inside these Goggle X's. So I am using the Cadex Avatar Goggle X with the Sharkbite VRX receiver. HDZero tend to get a bit upset when I call it HDZero for some reason. Don't know if it's a contractual obligation thing, but as you can see, it is a little bit windy this morning. Nothing overly major. I'm steaming up again, so my flying's probably not going to be the best, but hopefully I can do a few close passes at least. See, under here is quite a cool little thing to do. It's a good test of the signal as well. But unfortunately I am steaming up so bad I can barely see. Which is really somewhat counterintuitive to narrating a flight and actually flying well. But as you can see, I have turned the rates down slightly, but it is lovely and light. It's got a lot of momentum in it. I can barely see, this is ridiculous. Cadex, right, I don't know why, but these goggles, of all the goggles, I love them, I really do love them, Cadex, but they don't have fog up. I've tried some Submariner stuff, but it just doesn't seem to work. Yep.
Turtle mode on. Armed. Armed.
Right, let's bring it back, change the battery, and try and be able to see again, because I really can't. I've had this sort of difficult relationship with HDZero because it was never as good as DJI, it was never as good as, it was sort of always a middle road, sort of, it's good, but it just doesn't quite beat this, it doesn't quite beat that. And then I started flying tiny whoops, and I've got a whole new level of love and respect for HDZero. Like literally a whole new level of love and respect for them. To be able to fly a tiny whoop with this level of signal, with this quality of drone, sure it is expensive, it is, but we discussed on the documentary that I made, the reason why it's expensive is because it never intended to be a consumer product, it always intended to be something for the manufacturers to run with, and obviously Carl just couldn't get them on board, so he said bugger it, I'll do it myself. Now obviously that seems to have changed with Happy Model, they seem to be more on board recently with the new boards and things, so hopefully we will get to a stage where we're getting more integration with third-party manufacturers, because that is how you drive the cost down. And Carl knows it. Carl's a super intelligent guy. Carl knows that's how you drive the cost down. And hopefully, before too long, that's where we'll get to. Now it is a little bit windy this morning, as you can possibly see.
Armed.
See, I want to blame the wind, but it's probably just my crap flying, let's be honest. Let's go and gorilla whip around these people. See, we can probably hit the slide from here. My camera has moved slightly since that 3.1 volts. It is really cold this morning, so I don't want to push it too hard and be too far away if that battery does decide to die. Is there a slide near me? There is. Hopefully the DJI action on the table will catch this. Beautiful. Right, let's bring it back because I'm on 3.0 volts, which is not a good voltage to be at. And let's discuss what we think of the new happy model Mobula 6 Freestyle HDZero thing. Well,
Telemetry lost.
I think it's fair to say that it's bloody good. Flight time, I don't know what we're getting there, probably about 2.5 minutes, but it is really, really cold this morning. I think it's about 20 grams. I'll double check when I'm back in the studio. Obviously, you know, you can fly it with anything you want because it's ELRS. I don't know if they do a TBS version, they probably do. But literally, I'm here in a child's playground at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've flown past a few people, nobody's paid a jot of attention to me whatsoever. There's dog walkers here as well. Now, the one thing I'll say is, I've been flying for 10 years, and generally speaking, I've not really had many issues. The only issues I have ever had is with the aforementioned dog walkers. The fact that none of them seem to have an issue this morning says a lot about how quiet and discreet this little drone is. So overall, just briefly, if I can just thank our members for being part of this amazing community. We've got Barry Morgan FPV, Only Drones, Mark Duplex, Dizzy Dean FPV, Han Solo, Not Here, Phil Anderson, James III, and our newest member is Simca. It costs $1.99 a month to join them on the members bench. You will get access to videos before they get released into the public wherever I can, and you'll get some behind the scenes photos whenever I remember to do it. I try my very best to do it as often as I possibly can. If I've not earned that from you today, that's okay. I'll keep trying. But if I can ask for one favour, and that is that you hit that bell icon. The amount of wide and varied content that we've got coming up on the channel is something I would hate for you to miss out on. And by hitting that bell icon, you'll never miss out on a video again. And also, it's free. So that is the HDZero Mobula 6 Freestyle HD, built and crafted by Happy Model. This model makes me happy, I've got to be honest. It is such fun to fly. It offers all the benefits of a tiny whoop without any of the negativity of it being analog, although that's something that seems to be bothering me less and less the older that I get. I'm not actually sure why. It's a brilliant, brilliant little drone. Ultimately, we always come to the question of, should you buy it? And ultimately, it all depends, doesn't it? You know, do you have something to receive the HDZero signal with? So as long as you've got a way to receive a HDZero signal and you've got a reason to use a tiny whoop, then my answer is going to be, yeah, you probably should get one. They're great to practice in the house. They're great to increase stick time with. Stick time is probably the most important thing in FPV. They're great to go gorilla whooping with. They're great to fly around anywhere. The amount of times that I've flown this near people, with a spotter, obviously, people just don't pay any attention to it at all. It really is that quiet and that discreet, and yet you can go and do some crazy stuff with it. I think the only points really to note is it is expensive. It's $199. Now, I live in the UK, and when I ordered one, obviously it was $199, and then I got hit for an extra $75 import, which pushed it to nearly $300. Would I do that again? No, I wouldn't. I really, really wouldn't. It's unfortunate that happened. That's just the risk that you take. There are, I think, some UK retailers that have one. Let me check. So one of my favourite stores in the UK is Hobby RC, run by a guy called Mike. Hi, Mike. They have the Happy Model Mobula 6 Freestyle HDZero for 159 English pounds. Now, that comes out to $202. So they've got it for the price that it costs on the HDZero website. Obviously, you then don't have to pay an extra £75 or an extra £50 or an extra $75 on top of that for import tax. So if you're in the UK and you do consider one of these, go to Hobby RC and buy one from them. Let them know that I sent you. Ultimately, it will save you quite a lot of money. And Hobby RC are, I think, the only official UK reseller of HDZero. So that's who I would recommend that you go with. The flip side is, if you was to get, say, a Beta FPV Air 65 or Air 75, you're probably paying about £70, about $100. So it's more than half the cost, or less than half the cost of the HDZero version. Now, ultimately, if you are somebody who demands the best of the best, then get the HDZero. If you're somebody that's on a budget, you probably want to go with analog. They'll both do exactly the same thing. It just won't look as good. So ultimately, it depends what your priorities are. But if you're in the market and you can receive HDZero, you want something that offers the best possible quality, then my recommendation is 100% to get the new Mobula 6 HDZero, made by Happy Model. But if you're in the UK, I'd probably advise to go to Hobby RC for it. And speaking of hobbies and RCs, if you're into hobbies and RCs, click this video in the end screen now.